Well, good morning and welcome everybody. I could not be more excited. I don't think everybody gets a chance to listen every day to what I would call probably some of the two most dominant athletes of all time. Serena Williams, who I consider to be, and everybody considers to be, the greatest female tennis player ever. And my good friend, Lance Armstrong, who I consider to be the greatest cyclist ever. Thank you. But today, we're not here to talk about Grand Slam wins or Tour de France titles. We're going to talk about something that I believe is even more competitive, and that's investing. So Serena, Lance, thanks for being here. It's great to have you both here.
Yeah.
So let's start with what everybody wants to know, the transition. And most athletes, when they retire, they go from sports, they go to endorsements, maybe they do some broadcasting, and you both decided to enter the world of investing. Serena, you chose a difficult one, early stage investing for something you believe in, which is underrepresented founders, something that I have been one of them. And Lance, you started Next Ventures, you're in your second fund, and early stage health tech. We all want to know, how did this happen? Was this intentional? Was this an accident? Was this an evolution? And why did you choose these specific areas? So why don't we start with you, Serena?
You know, on the panel just before us, we heard that so much percentage of companies that are being founded, these new startups, are founded by underrepresented founders. So I fell in love with technology. I've always loved technology. And I fell in love with investing in technology and really deciding how we invest and how the world shapes our future. And so getting to pick those companies, seeing real life, how your life has changed from point A to point B in the matter of 5 to 10 years, how our world has completely changed through how we invest, I wanted to be a part of that. I wanted to be able to pick out those companies, and that's why I leaned into the early stage. First, when I first started, I didn't know that early stage was a thing. I didn't even know that term. I just knew that I loved investing in how we shape the world, and I wanted to figure out a way to be a part of that. And on that journey, somewhere along the way, I realized that if I wanted to start a company and I wanted to be very successful at it, I would have less than a fractional percent of a chance to have outside capital and be able to raise money to do it. And so that became my mission, is to just really tell so many stories, like we heard before, of so many great companies that have been founded by so many great people that are diverse. And so for me, that's something that we lean in at Serena Ventures, is just investing in lots of different platforms and lots of different people.
Fantastic.
I mean, I think at the outset, I think the thing that Serena and I have in common as athletes is, and I think about this a lot, so what do athletes always have, right? Athletes always have some way to measure who's winning and losing, right? Whether it's a scoreboard, a stopwatch, a judger's table. So we're wired that way. Like I'm as an athlete, obviously, I was looking more at a stopwatch than a scoreboard. But even today, I as an investor, I think about things in terms of what's the scoreboard say? Because we were competitors as athletes, and we want to be competitors as investors, which means, and everybody in this room, by the way, wants to be competitors. When I think about what we do at Next Ventures, and I think about, you could broadly say health or healthcare, we define it as whole person health. Sometimes people say, what is that? I think the easiest way to sum it up is, if I think about my life as an athlete, but also as a patient, you think about the continuum of healthcare. On one end, you have the healthiest person in the world, the fittest person in the world, the most optimized person in the world. I've been that person. All the way at the other end of the continuum, you have somebody who's on death's doorstep, right? I've also been that person. And so this is this entire continuum of health, not just in the United States, but around the world, that I've lived both ends of that thing. So this has been our focus. It's the space that I've, my own personal experience supports, but it's also one that we know very well. And so, but all the while, it's this hyper competitiveness that I think athletes are uniquely wired to bring to this game, and it's exciting, and it's an honor to be on stage with this lady right here, who
So,
She's mad at me right now she's going to get over it.
so I'm lucky.
We only have 20 minutes. We
Never
could tell
mind.
you how an experience we had a few years ago that drastically changed my life, but they only gave us 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So I'm lucky to be both of your LPs, and I'm lucky to interact with both of you, both as friends. And when I talk to you privately, you both share something with me, and you both say we were both born to win. You're both dominant, you're competitive, and you both hate to lose. So now in sports, you pretty much control your outcome. You pretty much won everything you set up your minds to do. In investing, you're not always the best person in the room. How do you win deals? How do you attract founders to choose you? Because the best founders usually have choices of who they partner with. And I'm curious, when you're not the strongest player, this is a new area for you. How do you win deals? What do you do?
There's a simple answer, right? We've established great relationships with our existing founders. If we're chasing a deal, and we all know that venture is competitive, and that is the name of the game is deal flow, and obviously, and ultimately winning the deal. Once we ask a potential new founder to speak to our existing founders that can speak to our strengths, I think we're in the game, right? And so it's this level of support that we've given to our existing founders that can then come back and help us. And you have to be a little delicate on how that's used, but it seemed to work for us so far.
And for us, I approach it the way I approach tennis. When I first started, I wasn't the best at tennis, but I always thought I was, and I considered myself the best. And when I approach how do we win deals, we might not be the biggest, but I guarantee you we're the best. We love what we do. We work very hard. We're not going to necessarily go out there and get a deal that we don't know. Our team is built to have deals in sectors that we know, and we know those as best as we can, and we're going to do our best to get you things. We introduce you to literally, I want a deal because I told them we're going to get you indoors of the biggest retailer, arguably in the world. And so when they couldn't get anyone else to do it, we did. So that's how we win deals. We use examples like that of how we're not, some of these huge firms, but we act like that. And I'm used to being number one, and for me, it's I don't want to be second best. So that's the attitude that I have in every single thing that I approach, and especially in ventures, because it's incredibly competitive, and I love to compete. And I love it when there's a competitive deal, because I'm gonna figure out a way to get into it.
Yeah. And it's also collaborative. I mean, we can agree on that. There are times in this business, and certainly based on my experience, where you have to, it's kill or be killed. But there's so many other times where you look around the sandbox, you're like, all right, we're all in this together. We have to collaborate on this, and we are going to be partners on this. It's not dissimilar to cycling. If you think about, or if I think about the Tour de France, you have 200 guys riding down the road. There's 21 teams. You have, in our day and age, we had 9 riders on a team. They now have 8 riders on the team. So we were 9 guys versus 190 other guys, right? So just on its face, that's a challenge. You would always, on a daily basis, have to find new partners, new allies that on day 3 would be some other team, and on day 13 might be a completely different set of teams. And so it sounds a little political, which it was, but you figure out ways to have this mix of competitiveness and collaboration, all the while knowing that at the end of the day, you're going to have to collaborate.
Yeah.
Great. So Serena, you and I have been champions for powering diversity. I go on my own fund, the Open Opportunity Fund.
Yeah.
You go Serena Ventures. And, before, the whole concept of DEI and helping underrepresented founders was something that there was a tremendous amount of tailwinds. And I say the world has sort of flipped on us as it relates to that. And there's a new shift. I wouldn't say against diversity, equity, inclusion, but definitely is no longer a topic that people are pushing. How does that affect what you do? Because you set up, I was an underrepresented founder, and I built the world's largest distribution company, and it was hard to raise money. And then, when I look at you and you say, we know it's hard for underrepresented founders to raise money, and you set up a fund that focuses on that, how do you deal with the new reality now?
Well, we really just want to partner with people that want to partner with us. For me, when I talk about diversity, we're not only investing in people of color, we're not only investing in Wimbledon. Some things never change.
By the way, let us know if you get a chance to invest in Wimbledon. I think we're all into that, right?
In women, we invest in everyone. We don't care what you look like. Our portfolio right now has 68% diverse, but we just want to invest in great companies. And by the way, we want people that also want to think like that. And so for us, when we think about investing, we're also investing in a diverse group. We want to invest in the 98% of the population, so the things that are really affecting the everyday lives of everyday people, and not necessarily leaning in on maybe part of that 2%, because that 98% is such a larger piece of the pie, and that is the percent, and those are the companies that we call fund returners, that are decacorns, and those are the things that we want to be a part of. And when we have this conversation with LPs, they really understand what we are about, and that and you know what, quite frankly, we want people that believe in our mission, and a lot of people still do, and there's a lot of people that are talking about DEI, and they want to lean into that, and and that's why we continue to have those types of people on our team.
Thank you. Now, as you both have entered a new world, the world of investing, I'd love to know, Lance, Serena, what's been your biggest surprise? What's been the hardest part of this new journey of investing in your new job?
Well, the biggest surprise has been the hardest part. This is hard work. You chuckle. I mean, and I think if I just had to imagine, I think Serena and I perhaps get lumped into this category of, and I hate the word celebrity, but you get lumped into this category of celebrity funds. And we've been around a lot of this, and you see the level of involvement or engagement in a lot of other funds. And I'm not trying to grade anybody else's homework. I just know that the way I've approached it, and having worked with Serena, I know the way that she approaches it. This is very different. So if you approach it with a true hands-on approach as the founder, as a managing partner, it is a lot of work. And what does that entail, right? Post-COVID, you're working remotely, you're sitting in front of Zooms. You also, for us, like sitting down and sitting in like actively working day in, day out, sitting still, that's hard. But just the founder.
I like sitting still. I mean,
I do not like sitting still ever. And so, but founding Next Ventures, getting it up and running, all of the details, I didn't expect or anticipate the challenges. And it's a full-time job. And so the reason I bring up the sort of the precedent or the way we might get lumped into other celebrity funds, I just think it's different. I mean, we're not pictures on a website. We're not, hey, come to a meeting, come to 5 meetings a year, and this is what it will mean for you. This is an active, full-time job for us, and so it's tough. But look, I mean, we wouldn't have done the things we did in sport if we didn't like tough things, and so.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's tough. I've had the opportunity of having an amazing husband who is also an investor, and that's kind of how we met. Well, I was asking him about investing because I was learning more about it. So I got a really inside look of how much hard work it is, and he works very hard, and he works 30 hours out of a 24-hour day. And so seeing that firsthand, I knew that it was going to be something really intense if I wanted to embark on this in a different way. But I think the most surprising thing for me is with me loving early stage, with me loving to pick out companies that can stand out and that can grow, it is the percentage of early stage companies that don't make it. And so that to me I knew that going in, that okay, they say most of them don't make it, and your fund really relies on 2 to 3 companies. And for me, that's like, wow, it's so hard to focus on, because I want every one of my companies to be successful. I want all of them to win, but that's just not a reality. And it's just learning to let go that everyone is not going to make it. No matter how much support you give the founder, no matter what you do, there is going to be some that kind of fall to the wayside. So that has been, I think, something that's a little surprising to me, even though you go in with this eye open, but you still, for me, I am always hopeful, and I always want to see the best in all the companies that we personally choose.
Got it. Have you worked on deals together?
We have done a few deals together, and we see a lot of deals come down the pipeline, and I'll see if next in it I'll call Lance. If he's not too busy for me, we powwow about it a little bit.
The only other thing I was going to say, and this is, I think, interesting or sort of particular to our two sports, because if you watch Serena in Wimbledon, you see Serena out there all alone. Right? You're on one side of the net, and there's somebody else on the other side. People are like, oh, she's playing an individual sport. If you saw me race a bike and you went and you go and you stand on the top step in Paris, I stood up there alone. And so people say, he won the Tour de France. She won the U.S. Open. Well, I don't think either of us ever thought that we did that alone. I certainly know I was on a team, or I felt like I was in a team sport. I wasn't a team sport. I think you probably felt like, yes, you were on the court alone, but there was this whole team around you. The team aspect, and I've met your team, you've met our team, I love that part of it. Right? And that can mean a whole lot of things where it's just playing to your strengths and helping each other out. But if I had to do this all alone, I don't know that I would necessarily love it. But as you start to build out an incredible team, which is what I've done my whole life and just been around team players, I mean, I love that part of it.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say that, because I really feel like team is key. And even the biggest firms that you see, and everyone here in the audience probably have some really amazing teams around you. And I think it's so important how you build your team. And one thing that I was saying earlier, we're not the biggest, but I'm telling you, we're one of the best. We look of it as like a concierge kind of approach. We build a really team that's, we don't have 100 people on our team, but it's really one way that's how we impact our founders, is by having an opportunity for them to reach out to any of us, including me, and really just pick our brains on how to grow their business.
I think the hardest part in this business of investing, if we're very honest, is fundraising. Fundraising is tough. And there's a lot of money in this room. I would potentially say in the trillions, not in the hundreds of billions of dollars. And a lot of people will say, you're a celebrity, so of course you're going to get access. And every celebrity thinks they can be an investor. And if we're honest, we know they're most going to fail. So you get a few seconds to basically tell people what makes you different, and when you go to raise your next fund, why Serena Ventures, and why invest behind you, Lance, or Next. Love to just hear that.
I'll start. We're going to win. We're going to succeed. I only know one thing. I only know how to win. I build great teams. I know you build great teams. I've been building a great team since I was 10 years old, and so my experience out there has been unmatched. And so we know what it takes to work hard. I think we both hate the word celebrity. We work so hard in our prior jobs, and I think that's one thing that's different about athletes, is we understand that celebrities are different. We literally have to go out every day. We have to show up every day. We have to perform every single day, every single minute that we're out there. And I think that's what we do. And when it comes to being successful, anything less than a win kills us.
Look, I think, and you guys go to enough of these conferences, you start to pick up on the current buzzwords, and we all know what they are, right? With AI, robotics, et cetera, et cetera. Healthcare is here and here to stay. And the interesting thing for us, at least from our firm's perspective, is coming out of COVID, I think, and we think, COVID fundamentally changed the way people look at their health. And so I think, not that people before COVID thought that they were going to live forever, but certainly through and to the end of COVID, people had this question of, or this sort of thought, like, oh, we're not going to live forever. And so, and you've seen this, you've seen these movements, you've seen the, certainly the momentum around whether you call it optimization, longevity, lifespan, health span, et cetera, all of society has changed their view fundamentally of health. And so we are going to ride or draft off of those, of that group and those tailwinds. And that's where we enter. It is here to say, if you, look, I was at the dinner last night, right? I heard two things stood out to me, right? You had Peter Diamandis say that there are people talking about life expectancy doubling, right? With all of everything that's happening in the world, whether it's AI or all the smart people that are here now, doubling. Think about that. And then you heard Dr. Oz talk about, well, if we could just raise the age of retirement 3 years, that would mean $1 trillion to the U.S. economy. Well, I mean, these are all very real issues. Let's just say we don't double lifespan, right? Let's just say it increases by 20%. That's a big jump. These has huge implications on everything we do, right? And so, and the other thing that's been interesting for me, just as an athlete, I've been doing this like Serena for many, many years. In early days in our career, we had stuff that just didn't work, right? Oura Ring is a great example. There were ways to track your sleep 20 years ago that, first of all, if you put it on or used it, you couldn't sleep. So now we're getting to this place where we can actually affect change and make great things happen. So that's where we play, and it's a great space to be. It's not going away.
Great. Well, unfortunately, all good things must come to an end, as they're notifying me that we're out of time. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Marcelo.
This has been great, having a chance to interview two people I admire, so thank you.